Hi everyone, this is Fomafung, your Agile Evangelist, and welcome back to my channel. Alright, let's just quickly talk about this. Today we are going to be addressing the difference between acceptance criteria and definition of done. I'm not sure why, for some reasons, there's been a lot of confusion between these two specific sentences. What exactly is acceptance criteria and what is definition of done? What is the difference between these two? So people easily get confused between these things, and I'm just not sure why. So I'm here today to just kind of share my own understanding of what that really is. So I hope this video will be valuable to you. So by the end of this video, you are going to have a clear understanding of the difference between acceptance criteria and the definition of done. And I'm just going to be sharing with you a simple example that will help you clarify that difference and help you better understand what the difference really is between acceptance criteria and the definition of done. So if this is your first time here, you're very welcome. And just so you stay in sync with what we do here every week, please turn on that subscription button and the notification bell so you will not miss out on any weekly upload. Also, go to a page and you would find so many other videos that will help you enhance your agile knowledge. Also, if you are a returning viewer, a returning subscriber, thank you so much. You are always very welcome and I appreciate you. Now, if you are looking for a one-on-one mentoring coaching services that will help you close that gap between just having a certification and theoretical knowledge and landing that first role, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We've been helping so many people. You might just be next in line to be helped. So check right up there for our direct contact information and reach out to us. We will be so delighted to be part of your success story. And if you are also you've been thinking of exploring this agile career path and then you're just not sure how to go about it, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Also, if you're already a professional but for some reason you're just stuck around the mechanics and struggling, please reach out to us. We will be so glad to be part of your support system to help you establish and succeed in this whole career path. This is what we specialize in doing. We do this passionately and we love to be part of people's success story. So thank you so much. Now let's just jump right into our topic of discussion today. Now, what is the difference between acceptance criteria and the definition of done? First of all, let us look at acceptance criteria. What is acceptance criteria? Acceptance criteria are these is a checklist. It's just like a checklist by which the customer would consider met before they would say that user story has been completed. You see, that is what an acceptance criteria is. It's just a checklist that stakeholders, including especially team members, go by to ensure that the user story have been completed. So it's typically, for example, what would be on the, let's say that we are trying to develop human hair. For example, you've placed an order for a human hair, right? I'm talking about the human hair that we all wear. We all ladies put on most of the time, So you've placed an order for a human hair, and then your acceptance criteria for that human hair would be you want an 8 inches or 10 inches human hair. That's just one acceptance criteria. Secondly, you want the human hair to be yellow in color or black in color, And then the third acceptance criteria would be you want the human hair to be curly, right? You do not want a bone straight human hair or anything like that. Yeah, so that is the third acceptance criteria. Yes, these are the three, for example, 3 examples of an acceptance criteria of a user story. Again, let's assume that the user story is to create a human hair for your upcoming party or wedding or whatever, wherever you want to wear your human hair to. Yeah, that's exactly what an acceptance criteria is. And now, an acceptance criteria is per story. So every user story must have its acceptance criteria, which means that for the developers to really understand what is required by the customer, that user story must have a good acceptance criteria. So that user story acceptance criteria kind of help clarify what the customer really needs, what the specifications are, what that is, what the specification of that user story are. So that is what an acceptance criteria is. So each user story has its acceptance criteria. Let's say that you want to order let's say 10 human hair. So let's consider each human hair as a user story. So you want one of your human hair, you want it to be 16 inches, blue color, straight, yeah, like that. And then that's one user story. Your second user story is a 22 inches human hair, right? You want it to be purple, and then you want it to be body wave curves, you see, and then you want lace front, you see. So those are just two examples of two user stories, human hair user stories, because that's the product you want. So that's going to be what the developers would go by to ensure that they are creating what you really want, So at the end of the development of the work, they will use that checklist to verify, to ensure that, okay, this product that they have developed, it meets this acceptance criteria. You see, so that's what an acceptance criteria is. Now, let us look at what the definition of done is. What is a definition of done? A definition of done is simply what the developers go by to ensure that that product that they have created is correct. See, they may so what we just discussed right now about acceptance criteria, I would like you to see acceptance criteria as the completeness of the work. Is a checklist that ensures the completeness of the work. And then when it comes to definition of done, I would like you to see definition of done as a checklist that ensures the correctness of the work. Because the work can be completed, all these criteria, these specifications that the customer has asked may have been met, but it doesn't mean that it is correct. You see? So let's say, for example, let's pick on these all these user stories, the human hair user stories, the ones that we've quoted examples on. They've created these 3 user stories with all the different inches, 18 inches, 16 inches, 22 inches, and all the colors they've asked for and all that. Now we would need to verify if they are correct. Let's say, for example, the criteria that what would be on your definition of done checklist. It is also a checklist, just like an acceptance criteria checklist. What would be on your definition of done checklist would be things like, okay, the texture of the hair. Is it really human hair or is it synthetic? You see, that's the correctness of it. Is it correct? Is it the right texture of human hair, or is it mixed? Is it a little bit of human hair or a little bit of synthetic? You all agree with me. What we get out there, you place, especially the orders that you place online, this online shopping. Okay, let's just leave that for another day. Yeah, so those would be the kind of things you're checking. And then let's say that one of the specifications was you wanted yellow color. So you will now be verifying if it is the right yellow color that you asked, or if it's that kind of deep yellow, or it's just that kind of very bright yellow, So that's the correctness. So that's just what the difference is. And then when it comes to definition of done, the definition of done is not per user story. It is not per user story. So the team comes together, right, when they start working on a product. They establish a definition of done. So it's just a one-time checklist that they establish. But now it's not like it's built on stone or anything like that. No, as they learn more, as they begin to continue to discover more, as they progress in their work, they are free to continue to enhance their definition of done. Just to ensure that they are delivering high quality value to the business and to the customers, because that is their goal. Whereas the acceptance criteria is per story. So based on everything I just said, let me quickly highlight to you again the clear difference between an acceptance criteria and a definition of done. Difference number one, acceptance criteria, I like you to see acceptance criteria as the completeness of that work, while definition of done is the correctness of that completed work. I hope you get that. All right, difference number two, acceptance criteria is established or defined per user story. So each user story has its acceptance criteria. While a definition of done, that's not the case. A definition of done is established, it's a one-time thing that is established right from before the team start working, but they continue to review and refine it as they go, So that is what a definition of done is. I would also like you to see the difference as an acceptance criteria. See an acceptance criteria as the quality assurance of the work, of the user stories, while a definition of done is the quality control of the increment that they're working on. So definition of done is measured at increment level, because as you know, one of the Scrum artifacts is the increment that you get at the end of the sprint. So at that increment level, the team is accountable to the definition of done, or the team is committed to the definition of done, which means that for a team to say that the increment is done, it has to meet these three criteria. It has to be valuable, it has to be usable, and then it has to be shippable. These three criteria. So it is per increment. And if they say that increment meets the definition of done, it has to meet the three criteria. It is valuable, which means that the customer should be able to derive value from it if they choose to use it. It is usable, which means that if they release it to the customer should be able to use it. And then it is releasable, which means that they should be able to release it anytime they want. The business should be able to release it anytime they want, or they can choose to put it on the shelf. But acceptance criteria is per story, per user story. So each user story has to have its acceptance criteria, and the acceptance criteria is what the developers go by to ensure that they have completed the request of the customer. So most of the time, the person that writes or clarifies the acceptance criteria is usually the person who wrote that user story. So the user story has to come with its acceptance criteria. If you see any user story in the product backlog on your Jira board or whatever tool you're using, and it doesn't have any acceptance criteria, then that user story is not healthy. It's not healthy. So during your backlog refinement, the team now will have to be discussing and getting that information. So what is the acceptance criteria? Because you need to know the acceptance criteria before you would, so that it will be your guide to know if you are producing the right thing for the customer. So typically the person who wrote that story, most of the time, either the PO would write stories, the business analyst would write stories, tech lead to write stories, even some team members too write stories sometimes, even though the PO is accountable for the correct writing of the user stories, and then as a Scrum Master, you are there to guide them, ensure that they are writing correct user stories, and all the information that's required is in that user story. Yeah. So if you're going through your refinement and they realize that there is a user story and that you don't see any acceptance criteria on the acceptance criteria field, yes, you need to ask triggering questions that will help team members get that information before you consider that story as ready to even go into the sprint. So that's how it works. So so that's what it is. And then again, the definition of done now is this increment that you've achieved, this potential increment that you've achieved at the end of the sprint by completing all these user stories, right? You achieve a potential usable, valuable, shippable functionality. And then the way you know that that functionality is great, is high quality and good enough to please the customer or meet the customer needs, it means that it must meet the definition of done. You see? So that is what it is. It must meet the definition of done. And again, the definition of done is just simply a checklist that your team, you all have established. So the definition of done is written by the entire team. So the entire team comes together, including the product owner, the Scrum Master, the development team, to establish their definition of done. and they put it aside. Every end of the sprint now, they will use that definition of done to verify, to make sure that, okay, this increment, this potential increment that we have achieved is ready to go to the customer. You see, so that is the difference between an acceptance criteria and a definition of done. So that's how I would like you to see an acceptance criteria and a definition of done. So again, I hope this video helped clarify your doubt. If you have more to add to this topic, please, we'll be so delighted and we'll be so glad to hear. Leverage that comment section and drop your thoughts there, so we all can continue to learn and grow in this wonderful agile space. And if this is your first time here, please turn on that subscription button and the notification bell so you will not miss out on any content that we upload here weekly. And if you're a returning subscriber, please, thank you so much. Continue to patronize by sharing, liking, and dropping your comments. And again, if you're looking for a one-on-one mentoring coaching services, please look right up there to get our contact information and reach out to us. We'll be so glad to be part of your agile success story. As we are going to wrap up here right now, I would want you to take this back home or take this out of this video. Acceptance criteria is the completeness of the user story, while definition of done is the correctness of all these user stories that have been completed by the developers. So thank you so much and hope to talk to you